There is no safe investment. To love at all is to be vulnerable. Love anything, and your heart will certainly be wrung and possibly be broken. If you want to make sure of keeping it intact, you must give your heart to no one, not even to an animal. Wrap it up carefully with hobbies and little luxuries. Avoid all entanglements. Lock it up safe in the casket or coffin of your selfishness. But in that casket, safe, dark, motionless, airless, it will change. It will not be broken. It will become unbreakable, impenetrable, irredeemable. The alternative to tragedy, or at least to the risk of tragedy, is damnation. The only place outside heaven where you can perfectly be safe from all of the dangers and perturbations of love is hell. Those words are from the book Four Loves by C.S. Lewis. Welcome to Hot Takes on the Classics, a gossipy gallop through the best books ever written. My name is Tim McIntosh, and I am joined by Emily Maeda. Hello, Emily.
Hey, Tim. It's been a while.
It has been a while. We finished season 1, a season on war, and this season, after a break, we're going in the exact opposite direction. Emily, tell everybody what this season is going to be about this time.
It's on love. How could we not go to love after war?
After war, right? We kind of had to
in love and war, right?
That's right. So, Emily, this book, the way that we're going to treat this book is a little bit differently than the way that we'll treat the rest of the books in the season, the way that we treated books in the last season. What we typically do is select a classic on our theme, and we kind of give an overview, plot points, character, main philosophical themes, and then we have a hot take on it. This one is going to be a little bit differently because the reason we're using C.S. Lewis's book is that it provides a really strong, let's call it like a taxonomy of love, right?
Exactly.
So I was thinking about,
No, you're exactly right. That's why we wanted to start with it, because we pretty much use love for lots of different emotions.
Right. I remember several years ago, I went to Seville in Spain, and one of the people who lived in this hostel where I was staying was a Spanish speaker, and she knew about this little singer-songwriter tavern in the heart of the old part of the city. So we went down there like at midnight, and we heard this singer-songwriter crooning, surrounded by all these beautiful Spanish women. And my Spanish was not good enough to really know, to listen with great dexterity. But I knew enough to know that he was not using the word amor. I knew the words love in Spanish was amor. And so I said to my friend, why is he not using the word amor? And she said, because that is a very big, grand word in the Spanish language. And he's being very careful to not use it too often, but is using other words to kind of convey the affection that he has for the woman that he's singing to. And I remember thinking, gosh, we don't really have that in everyday English usage. We have all sorts of variations, words that are like love, like affection, fondness, infatuation, but they're almost all kind of like modifier words on the word for romantic love.
Right.
You think that's accurate?
I do. I think we say we love pizza. We love taking a bath. We say love for all of these things. And we love our children. And we love God, right? It's all the same.
And to say that we love our children, and we use the same word for how we feel about pizza. There's something impoverished there.
And how we feel about God. Yeah, that's something impoverished, right? Because we don't have the distinction in different aspects of what love is.
So this season, we're opening with C.S. Lewis's Four Loves because he gives descriptions of 4 different types of loves from the classical and Christian world. And let's just start with those, Emily. Why don't I name all 4?
Great.
I've got a couple of quotes. I think maybe you've got a quote or two from the book. It's a really fine book. But let's just first kind of define what these different types are, and then maybe we can have a short discussion on each of these types of love. And then if I'm not mistaken, you have a little bit of a hot take on this book, don't you?
I guess it is. Maybe it's not such a hot take, but it is a little bit of a hot take. It's a little bit of a hot take. We're doing this to C.S. Lewis a number of times. I did this with him in our last season, Prudentius and the Psychomachia. Poor C.S. Lewis. Anyway, let's go through it. You should set out all four, and then we should talk about each one.
So here they are. I'm going to give the Greek, and I'm going to give it an English approximation.
Great.
Number 1, Storge.
Great.
Our closest approximation is affection.
Mm-hmm.
So Storge, Storge. Our closest would be affection.
So that's more like I love pizza.
Exactly.
To some degree. Okay. Keep going.
Number 2, Philia. Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love.
Perfect.
Philia. So this is about friendship. Yeah, right. It's also kind of ironic because Philadelphia, its sports teams are known for how not full of friendship their fan bases feel.
That's true.
I think we mentioned that they booed Santa at a halftime of a Philadelphia Eagles game. Stay with us. We're going to call it Philia. The birds. Okay. Number 3, Eros, or romantic love.
And everybody feels that they understand this because we get our word erotic from it, right? Right. And maybe that's somewhat obscured actually what it is.
Or at least impoverishes what this third type of love is. If it's just confined to eroticism, well, that's not really the full gamut of what romantic love is. And it's not what C.S. Lewis thinks the fullness of romantic love is. Then finally, 4th, charity, or agape. Emily, I was listening to a recording of C.S. Lewis. It's hard to imagine this, but he went on the BBC and basically gave a slightly truncated version of the book on the BBC. He read notes.
How interesting.
And I heard him pronounce the word agape. Do you know how he pronounces it?
Well, it's like agape or something.
Exactly.
Is that what it is?
Agape.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is the highest and most spiritual form of love. This is the love that gives selflessly, and this is tied in with Christian love of God and for neighbor. Those are our 4 types of love. Now, let's back up. Storge. This is like the foundation for all the other types, right?
Yeah, in Lewis's mind.
In Lewis's mind,
this is the basis.
He says, here's a quote, affection, Storge, is responsible for 9/10 of whatever solid and durable happiness there is in our natural lives.
Yeah. We can get behind that, right? Loving a good coffee in the morning, having a nice cup of coffee in the morning makes your life really bearable, doesn't it? Absolutely. So when he says that, yeah. He also, I appreciated, he put love of country or love of place in Storge, which I thought was very helpful. He loves England come hell or high water. He loves England because that's his country. So I thought that was, but not because it's the best, right? It encompasses the thing that is familiar and pleasing and inviting to one, that makes one feel at home.
He loves England because he loves a good British pub.
Yes.
And there's something good in a good British pub. I don't want to be like, oh, it's the same as a Applebee's or something like that.
Yeah.
But there is something about this form of Storge that is very, it's relatively easily developed, and it almost operates the way that magnets operate. Like we have an affection for what we know.
Yeah, exactly.
Philia.
Great.
For me, Emily, of the 4 sections, this was the part that was most profound and insightful. And again, I want to say, Lewis he gets a little bit into like the philosophy of love, but I really think this is the way I read the book, and maybe you read it differently. I think that he is trying in this book to help us understand different types rather than give an ontology. That's a big philosophical word for like the study of being. I don't think he's really doing that much ontology in these 4 types. He's helping differentiate and illuminate what is.
I agree. Yeah, I think that is what is helpful about the book. And then also maybe what is slightly frustrating is that he is just trying to give categories. And so it helps us think about and examine our loves and, understand the different components. But I completely agree. I think that friendship is the strongest part of this book. I think his writing about friendship is really so good.
Here's a quote from that section. Quote, "The typical expression of opening friendship would be something like, 'What? You too? I thought I was the only one.'" And I remember my friend Todd, he's been on my mind lately because I've seen a lot of him lately. And the first moment we met, we were surrounded by friends of his. I was kind of a newcomer to this group. And Todd just kind of told his story about failing out of Cornell, going through this kind of really difficult moment where like the faith that he was raised in felt like it was cracking up, and then he kind of returned to God later. But he's telling his story, and I could tell Todd was going to be my guy for a long time. And that was 25 years ago. And I mean, and it was like, it was, "What? You too? I thought I was the only one."
Absolutely. He also says friends walk shoulder to shoulder, both looking out, right? I love that.
Whereas lovers might sit face to
other.
face.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Another quote. "In each of my friends, there is something that only some other friend can fully bring out. By myself, I am not large enough to call the whole man into activity. I want other lights than my own to show all of his facets. Hence, true friendship is the least jealous of all loves."
I think it's so true. That's also part of the reason in friendships when jealousy is present that it kind of destroys the friendship, right? Because with your good friends, you are only ever happy for the successes they have.
Totally. Yeah.
And when that isn't present, it's not really a true friendship, right?
It's taking an axe to the trunk of the tree.
It is. Yeah. And that is when I think of my true and good and lifelong friends, that is not a present element. So I love that. I love what he says about that. He says it's by its nature, it's the least jealous of all the loves. Yes. That's so profound and true. And it does really help you think about friendships or, quote unquote friendships that you're like, wait, there's something wrong here. And it's sometimes that element, right?
Yeah, right.
Sometimes
That's right.
it's the element of not seeing things similarly. And you keep trying to get past it, but you just see things differently. That's okay.
Yeah. That's right. Number 3, Eros, or romantic love. So passionate, romance, a source of great joy. And Lewis is really keen to point this out. And also potential danger, because it can become possessive or destructive. And like, how many great books are based around this, like romantic love that goes awry and becomes poisoned and goes from the deepest romantic love to the most seething sort of vengeful, cold antagonism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is kind of, this is a little bit of what we'll talk about in a minute, but because there is always that element of possessiveness in Eros that doesn't necessarily have to go awry. He is keen to point out its awryness, but I do think that there's some things we can talk about there, because he is fearful of it in a sense because it's desiring, right?
Yeah.
And that's where he sort of locates problem. But I think also that is its greatest quality when pointed as it should be. So anyway, we'll talk about that more in a minute.
Number 4, and then I'd love to hear your hot take. Charity, agape. This is the highest and most spiritual form of love. It's selfless. It desires the good of others. It desires the good of others. It desires God, and it reflects God's love in an approximation toward others. So this is the part of agape in this quote that I'm about to read that identifies how distinct God is from us. Quote, in God, there is no hunger that needs to be filled, only plenteousness that desires to give. There's a kind of break there, a category break. Like all humans, there is a hunger that needs to be filled. But Lewis's point is God is complete in himself, and he reaches out to us because he loves us, but there's no need of God for us. I remember my dad telling me that when I was a young man and feeling pretty blown away by that. Like it seems like kind of basic, but I had never heard that before. And it really radically reoriented the way that I thought about God's love for me and my love for God and how they were different, or my love for, my dad or my mom or my brothers, my sisters. It was it jolted me because it doesn't take long. If you think about God loves us, but does not need us.
Right. We don't have a category for that.
Right. You push that first domino and you get squarely into some pretty enlightening theology pretty quickly. One more quote, and then Emily, I'd like to hear your hot take.
I have a few more questions for you first, Tim.
Okay. Quote, it is easy to acknowledge, but almost impossible to realize for long, that we, humans, are mirrors whose brightness, if we are bright, is wholly derived from the sun that shines upon us. I love that.
I do too. That's a great. Yeah, and that's Lewis recognizing that we in ourselves don't have agape or agape. We only have it standing in the splendor of the love of God, right? That's the only way we empty ourselves out for others without needing something back.
I remember, I am a big fan of John Henry Cardinal Newman, the Newman Centers, if you're familiar with like being on a major U.S. campus, university campus. Almost all of them have Newman Centers, and they were named after Cardinal Newman. And I wish I could have the quote exactly, but he talks about how he compares God's love to the sun, and if we look up at the sun, it can be so dazzling and so far from us in its kind of like otherness that it can almost be detrimental to loving one's neighbor because that love is so otherworldly that it feels like it's unattainable.
Yes.
And it can, like strangely enough, psychologically, it can become an obstacle to loving one's neighbor.
Yes, because I think that's a great thing to contemplate as we sort of move through all these different aspects of love. Yeah, I think that's brilliant. It's a brilliant observation. What do you think of Lewis's categorizing? So he categorizes Storge, Philia, and Eros as natural loves, and then Agape as a supernatural love. What do you think about that? That's probably about as philosophical as he gets. Or he also uses this category of need love and gift love, right? So need love being quote unquote natural, gift love being supernatural. I'm curious what you think about that.
I feel like if I talk too much, I might steal a little bit of your hot take, because you and I have been talking about this off the air, and I don't want to steal your hot take.
I got a lot here. I'm curious how that sits with you, because that, I have to say, I'll just put my cards on the table. That sort of needles me a bit. So I'm curious what you think of it, because I actually haven't asked you that question.
It needles me a little bit too.
Why does it needle you?
I feel like it's a little bit artificial.
Thank you.
Okay, that's how you think about it also. Maybe I could just put it, I'm thinking about this in terms of like my 2-year-old daughter. You know, I'm seeing the world all over again through her eyes. And little Arden wants and needs all sorts of things all the time. And it's hard for me to imagine that any of those things that she wants are not good, but it's the way in which she wants them. It's the time in which she wants them that they can be dangerous. It can be, that's what leads to trouble. And so in some ways you could say, so it's confusing to me to call any of those affections that she has like natural, but some others qualitatively different from them. I think of them as they are on a continuum of all our good desires, but in the way that we reach for them, in the time that we reach for them, that's the only troublesome spot. But I think Lewis is using some Aristotelian language, some Aquinian language that draws a distinction that calls some of those loves natural. And I find that a little bit, it creates more confusion than clarity for me.
Thank you.
That's how you see it too.
Yeah, I totally see it that way. Well, here's one of the other things that Lewis doesn't give us that other books are a little bit more helpful. So I went back after I read Four Loves. I went back and I reread parts of Love and the Postmodern Predicament by D.C. Schindler, which is really good. And I also read Love by Joseph Pieper. And one of the helpful things that both of them do is they give a little bit more of a definition for the category, you know, because Lewis is separating them, right? But for the category, D.C. Schindler, and he's pulling on St. Thomas Aquinas, but he says that love is a unity, becoming one without losing the distinctness of the two, which I think is really beautiful. He also says that it's a mutual indwelling where two parties are present to each other and present in each other, which I also think is a beautiful way. And he also says it's an ecstasy. It's a movement beyond the self. And that's the part that I don't think Lewis deals with well in Eros. That's why Eros is like the desiring aspect of Eros isn't just applicable to relationships between the opposite sex, that like that sense of hungering and thirsting. I mean, that's like all through the Psalms, right? I hunger and thirst for you. God's injunction to taste and see that he is good. You know, these very bodily and desirous within our human experience. God himself is pulling on that for how we should think about him. So I think those three aspects of love are really helpful to think about. What do you think? Unity, mutual indwelling, and ecstasy.
Mutual indwelling.
I love that.
Yeah. And like when you are at your best with somebody else, it could be your husband, it could be friend, it could be a sibling, it could be a child.
Yes.
You are fully invested as different people.
Exactly.
Together in like whatever it is that you're doing, contemplating, making.
Yes.
Enjoying. Yeah.
Isn't that and even when you love something inanimate, for instance, like a work of art, there is also a mutual indwelling with that.
Yes.
Don't you think?
Yes.
And that
completely.
So Schindler says that like love is really located in the realm of the beautiful. That it's not just a passion. It's not just a passion. And like you said, this continuum, it's really hard to say where one ends and the other begins.
Yeah.
And I would love to read this quote to you from Joseph Pieper, because he says, Eros links the natural, sensual, ethical, and spiritual elements. That prevents one element from being isolated from the rest, and that preserves the quality of true humanness in all the forms of love, from sexuality to agape. I think pretty remarkable and really beautiful. Could you read
it again? It's a lot to take in.
It is a lot to take in. I'm sorry, it's super dense. Eros links the natural, sensual, ethical, and spiritual elements. That prevents one element from being isolated from the rest, and that preserves the quality of true humanness in all the forms of love, from sexuality to agape. So Pieper really says that Eros is the love of the creature, that is properly, how we know about love. Like we understand, for want of a better word, a phrase, our God-shaped whole, and we're constantly hungry. I mean, Augustine says that all the time, right? Like our hearts are restless, like they're restless until they rest in you.
Yeah.
They're hungering, they're seeing glimpses of you everywhere, but they're hungering after God ultimately. That's Augustine's. But God works with that because we have been created, and therefore we're trying to find our way back home. We're trying to find our way back home.
I'm thinking about that verse in Acts. Paul is speaking on Mars Hill, and he says, almost as an aside, I come to you from the God whom you seek. In him we live and move and have our being. Like even the Greeks who didn't know Jehovah, in him they lived and moved and had their being. There's something like, even when we don't know him, there is a kind of like an approximate unity with him that's not completed, let's say. That Joseph Pieper quote made me think of that.
Yeah, completely.
I'm having a hard time tying the two strings together, but
I'm following you. I got you. Yeah, he says, how can we approach God disinterestedly without desire? And he just says we can't. Our deep hunger and our need make us realize. So he wants to locate Eros in a much broader understanding. And I mean, in our book list, as we've already agreed, Eros is really going to be highlighted by romantic love, but he says it's also properly the love of the creature, because God meets us in our hungering and thirsting, and he fills us with agape. We don't end with Eros, but we can't love God disinterestedly. That is not capable. We are not capable of this.
Yeah, that's right.
I also love that aspect, and I think we'll see this in some of our books on Eros, that sense of ecstasy of moving beyond the self, which is found in romantic love of another. That is the same love that then, loving God is also an ecstasy. It's also taking us outside of ourselves, right? I mean, we're being lifted up to something more. The one other quote that I think, and I always think about this when you think, what does it mean to love? Joseph Pieper says, all loves have this affirmation. The lover turning to the beloved says, it is good that you are. It's wonderful that you exist. Isn't that so good?
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And I think one of the things that C.S. Lewis is really good on is pointing out, and he highlights mother and child, when the mother gets something from the child that makes her feel better, there's the temptation to no longer let the child grow and become himself, herself.
Yes.
And I think that's a really astute observation. Like all of that, and probably you and I have like seen that a decent amount, like a child kind of become stifled, a possession, right? And if the child becomes something that is no longer the thing to be cared for by the mother and becomes independent, a mother kind of faces a choice and can become really soured by that. And that's not what real love is for that child.
It's not. This is a great quote on loving a child. Love for children is perhaps the most intense love, for it knows that it has nothing to hope for.
It's great.
That's so good.
Yeah.
But that's the true love for the child. Another author was saying that that's about as close as we can get to loving like God, if we're truly loving them, right? Because you remember how you treated your own parents with ingratitude.
Yeah.
And you somehow come to share in a sense of how God deals with us, right? It's loving without self-interest.
Yeah. Yeah. Emily, we could go on, but I think let's end the show and let me give a little preview of what we're going to do in our next show, because our next show is going to be a little bit different also. It's not something we did in the first season. It's going to be a selection show. So we are trying to build, you and I, a roughly 20 episode season on the theme love, with these 4 subcategories within the season. Each of us has come up with a list of books that we want to nominate for the season, but we have not shown them to each other yet. So you and I have invited on my wife, Galen, to kind of come on and play, what is she going to be? Kind of referee, rules keeper. And she's also going to be like, you dudes just have to make a decision. We've got to get this down to 20 at some point. So she's also going to be our taskmaster in a way. And that's what we've got coming up for the next show, the next episode. But first, I want to thank, before we leave, Clark Stefanik, our producer. We want to thank True North, our platform. True North is dedicated to the renewal of classical education in the United States and abroad. We also want to thank Tom Hagerman, who wrote and performed our music. Listen, we have also, because the show is kind of like getting some momentum, we have started a Substack page, because some of the biggest feedback that we've gotten is, hey, I listened to your show on Clausewitz and I really want to ask you guys a question. I have a comment to make on that. So we've created a Substack page. Go to Substack, Hot Takes on the Classics, and we also have an Instagram feed, Hot Takes on the Classics. Come find us there. Also, we ask you, please review us. A good review, especially a written review, goes a long way toward making our algorithm more enticing to future listeners. Emily, I'm looking forward to the selection show.
Me too. Excited to see what you're thinking.
We'll see you then.
Sounds great. See you then, Tim.